Hello, happy afternoon, welcome. My name's Maya Van Rossum. I'm the Delaware Riverkeeper, and I'm also founder of the national organization Green Amendments for the Generations. We really appreciate everybody joining our press conference today. And we're going to jump right in because today we're going to hear from 11 youth leaders who have been dedicating much of their time to securing a New Jersey Green Amendment. That is an enforceable constitutional right to a clean and healthy environment, including for our water, air, climate, and healthy natural resources here in the state of New Jersey. We're going to begin by hearing a few words from each of our youth leaders, and then we're going to have some question and answers from any press who have any questions or answers, or have any questions, and we have the answers. And so with that, we are going to jump right in. And our first youth leader who has really been championing this Green Amendment movement here in the state of New Jersey is Fonfrida Mura. She is a student from West Orange. She attends the West Orange High School and is the co-coordinator of the Green Amendment campaign at the New Jersey Sustainability Coalition. Svan, take it away.
Thanks, Maya. As Maya said, I am the co-coordinator of our Green Amendment campaign at the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition, and at NJSSC, I help organize students in support of the Green Amendment, which will finally cement the duty our government has to our generation's future. We recruited students from across New Jersey and trained them on the Green Amendment and the tools such as storytelling, lobbying, LT writing, and more that they need to fight for it. And just this past week, after I and several other youth leaders in this campaign gave a presentation on the Green Amendment, Commissioner Linda Hines was inspired to pass a Burlington County Green Amendment resolution, becoming the second county to do so. After working on this for only a few months, we can already tell that there is a hunger for this type of protection among young people. In part, I think this is because we've come of age under a constant barrage of bad news. Climate change has never been news to us, but simply the default our world is set to. I'm 15 and turned 11 the day of the 2016 election. For those my age, Donald Trump was the first president we paid attention to, and the president that really defined our perspective of this country's politics. No matter if you support him or not, there's no denying that his administration was explicitly anti-climate action, as it stripped away protected policies, left the Paris Climate Accord, and took no action upon the UN's report of a 2030 deadline to stop climate change. News that hit young people like me, who still thought we had time to grow up before joining the fight, like a stab in the chest. In our view, our leader and our country were anti our futures. All of this has sent our generation one message: we do not matter. According to the Green Amendment, however, we do matter. Future generations are included because it's our world too. The Green Amendment is the balm to our climate anxiety, insurance against short-sighted governments, and the acknowledgement from our leaders that we matter. All the young people that will be speaking here today have their own motivations, but I think this is one thing that many can attest to. For me, it certainly is an integral part of why I do this and why I hope our legislators can take this opportunity and pass the Green Amendment to change the minds of the youth and show us that you are going to safeguard our futures. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Svan. And next, we're going to hear from Ashley Park. Ashley is a student from Wyckoff. She attends Bergen County Technical School, and she is a steering committee member of the New Jersey Green Amendment movement here in the state of New Jersey. Ashley?
Thank you, Maya. I will be sharing my screen. Hi, everyone. So as Maya introduced, my name is Ashley Park, and I'm the youth representative of the New Jersey Green Amendment Steering Committee. As environmental problems become increasingly noticeable and the detrimental effects are spreading throughout the country, it is critical to highlight the intersectional aspects of climate change and the disproportionate impact on marginalized groups. This is a piece that I painted titled "I Can't Breathe" that addresses environmental injustice, which exists due to the higher levels of pollution that burden low-income and minority communities. The Black woman is a symbol of this systemic inequity, and as you can see, she's inhaling industrial pollution that is deteriorating her lungs with the flowers withering. Through my artwork, I express my anger about corporations' disregard for the environment, the government's procrastination in combating the climate crisis, and the frustration of barely having our voices heard by our representatives. and I use these emotions to fuel my activism. I've been working with environmental organizations and engaging in activism since the beginning of high school, and it is getting tiring to fight against power plant after power plant. I'm advocating for the Green Amendment not only because it preserves our environment that is being destroyed, but also because it will improve public health and protect the marginalized communities that have been targets of environmental injustice for generations. Unfortunately, environmental issues are rarely the priority in large decision-making processes, which is why my generation is living in a world that is threatened by the effects of climate change. But the Green Amendment is a major step towards systemic reform that will ensure a clean, safe, and just future by constitutionally protecting our environmental rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And I think everybody is really moved by your beautiful art. So thank you so much for sharing that. Next, we're going to hear from Ayanna Snowden. She's a student from Fort Lee. She attends Bergen County Technical High School, and she is also a member of the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition. Ayanna?
Hi everyone, my name is Ayanna Snowden, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about why I care about the Green Amendment. So, legislation has failed time and time again to protect some of the most vulnerable communities in New Jersey as well as across the country. Race has become the largest predictor of environmental quality, and it's no secret that polluting companies are very intentional about the geographics of their infrastructure. Repeatedly, low-income and minority communities are targeted and have to have their health and safety put at risk in the name of production and development. These groups are some of the smallest contributors to climate change, but will have to bear the largest consequences first and to the greatest extent. No one should have to worry if the air they breathe is polluted and will cause health problems in the future. However, it seems as though while some communities in this state have this privilege, many do not. All life is valuable, and race, religion, income, gender, or sexuality shouldn't determine the quality of anyone's environment. The Green Amendment is necessary to give the marginalized a seat at the table and a voice in matters they have wrongfully been excluded from. It is necessary to give people the power to defend their rights to a healthy environment against companies with a profit motive and little concern for the environment. The Green Amendment will hold the government accountable for its shortcomings in protecting the people and ensure that the government acts as a trustee going forward. It is necessary, not just for the planet, but for the people who live on it. The people whose struggles pile on top of each other, creating an endless cycle of oppression. The people who have been denied a voice in the matters that directly impact them, and the people who have been failed by our government. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we're going to hear from Christian Wright, a student from Franklin. He attends Rutgers Prep and is also a member of the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition.
Hi, my name is Christian Wright, and like I said, I'm a junior from Franklin Township. And really, to the Green Amendment, to me, I guess building upon some of the ideas that Ayanna said, I feel like it's just like an overall vessel and voice it gives to these lower income communities. Because like I said, I'm from Franklin, and I have many family members and things like that around this area. And the idea that basically those places are being taken advantage of by these big corporations and factories as like the sacrifice zones in order to get their agenda passed, honestly just hurts me seeing friends and family have to suffer through that. And then, like I said, the Green Amendment is overall a vessel in a way to give those people from those communities the opportunity to have their voices heard, which normally isn't due to the institutions we find ourselves in. And although I joined the coalition not too long ago, I feel like that it's like a overall amazing opportunity that allows us to get these voices heard and overall just protect us from these organizations taking advantage of these communities due to race, gender, and things and religion. So again, I just want to reiterate that to me personally, the Green Amendment is important because it protects friends, family, and overall all these communities that suffer from these big corporations using them as like the sacrifice zones in order to take advantage of them. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And next up is Sayuri Pfeiffer, a student from Jersey City. She attends High Tech High School and is also a member of the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition.
Thank you, Maya. Good afternoon. I want to talk about a personal experience of mine. So in April of 2020, NJ Transit announced plans to build a natural gas power plant in Kearney. The plant was part of a larger NJ Transit power system, which is meant to provide backup electricity to Amtrak's Northeast Corridor, the Morrison-Essex County lines of the NJ Transit Commuter Rail, and the Hudson Bergen Light Rail in case of power outages, like we experienced during Hurricane Sandy. The natural gas plant would have spewed pollutants into an area that's already subject to a lot of air pollution. And even worse, it was only 2 miles away from my high school. Our proximity to that plant put students all over Hudson County at risk. Thankfully, NJ Transit changed course after months of protests and demand from concerned community members, environmental activist groups, and students like myself. They ultimately decided to build a greener microgrid powered by solar and battery power. Our victory in preventing the construction of a natural gas plant was a result of the incredible work from community organizers and activists. But we wouldn't have been able to stop the construction of that plant without having so many people put in so much time and effort to raise awareness against this issue. And despite our win in Kearney, I can't help but wonder, will this happen again? What about communities that lack the time and resources to lobby and protect themselves? What about communities that are underrepresented in government and left out of conversations about allocations of projects like the amendment? The communities deserve basic environmental rights that will protect them from the construction of natural gas plants or incinerators or landfills close to their schools, their neighborhoods, and their homes. Because everyone deserves the right to clean air, pure water, a stable climate, and a safe and healthy environment. And that shouldn't be dependent on location or race or socioeconomic status. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Arush Rampali, a student from Parsippany. He attends Morris Hills High School and is the policy coordinator at Bye Bye Plastic Bags, New Jersey.
Thank you, Maya. Hello, everyone. So as Maya said, I am the policy coordinator at Bye Bye Plastic Bags, New Jersey, which is a chapter of the global nonprofit organization aiming to end the use of single-use plastic. Now, you may be wondering how I came to work with this amazing group of youth leaders, but before I give you an answer, I'm going to start with the question, which I'm betting is on a lot of people's minds. The question is, why? Why should we bother with this Green Amendment thing? Why can't we just keep doing what we're doing? As a youth living in the frightful world of today, where phrases like lead water and plastic pollution are the norm, the Green Amendment uniquely allows us to take charge of our futures. The passage of a Green Amendment would affirm the basic and inalienable rights of humans to clean air, clean water, and healthy environments. Its power lies in that it targets a wide range of environmental issues, from plastic pollution to fossil fuels to factory waste. This gives it an inordinate amount of flexibility to defend the rights of a diverse people, coming from all different backgrounds and facing all different environmental crises. It would enable the people to speak up immediately when they feel that their rights are being violated by the government or by corporations. Not only that, but the Green Amendment would also streamline consideration for the environment from the start of government decision making and prevent the issues that we're currently trying to solve with law after law. It would become a tool for many ongoing environmental and health causes, perhaps even preventing the future passage of multitudinous and varied environmental bills. Thus, the Green Amendment would ensure that a healthy environment is a resource available to all, regardless of the specific environmental issue being faced. So why do we need a Green Amendment? Because it can be a tool for change on a number of fronts, which is important because as the years race by, environmental solutions are a matter of now or never. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Kylie Shelfont, a student from Middlesex Borough who attends Middlesex High School.
Hi, my name is Kylie, and I actually want to talk about an interest of mine. So as I've grown up, I've come to love bodies of water, especially the ocean, and I aim to become a marine biologist one day. So in a lot of the studying that I've been doing, not only have I studied the creatures and everything that's in the ocean, but I've studied how all of those animals interact with humans themselves and how we interact with them. I've seen a lot of the damage that large companies and corporations have caused to the ocean by dumping plastics and garbage into it. And maybe we don't think it does harm at the time, but all of that buildup, because sometimes, it just ends up staying for years and years, it really doesn't give us the clean, pure water that we need. And I want to be able to see the earth flourish one day. And I want to see, I want us to know that we have a secure future. And I think that the Green Amendment is really going to help people understand that clean water is extremely important for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Daniel Shapiro, a student from West Orange who attends Golda Academy.
Hi, my name is Daniel Shapiro. As I said, I'm a sophomore at Golda Academy. So what the Green Amendment represents to me is the willingness to change. In a world filled with massive amounts of upheaval and distress, we can draw strength from the knowledge that change can be a vector for improvement, both individually and societally. What this Green Amendment represents is fundamentally human, the ability to plan for the future. With implementation of this amendment, New Jersey will be prepared for the uncertain future ahead of us. This Green Amendment will change a lot, but it will change for the better. This amendment will give some of the legal leverage needed for political action across the state and the leverage to right wrongs. This is something that is sorely needed in our modern political climate, no pun intended, especially to protect the millions of people who will be hit hardest by the lack of sufficient ambitious legislation. This will be an important step towards a more sustainable future, but it will also produce more action and give more support for positive change. With a future so filled with uncertainty, the ability to positively affect one's political environment can bring a sense of purpose and will, and where there is a will, there is a way. Sure, this is not a cure-all, but we can improve upon it. The Green Amendment will bring hopeful change into a world that is needing it and will change it for the better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Eva Bertolotti, a student from Springfield who attends Jonathan Dayton High School and is a member of the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition.
Thank you so much for the introduction. The great law of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy avows, in our every deliberation, we must consider the impact of our decisions on the next 7 generations. Stewarding the environment for their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and generations that might never see the same light of day that we do was intrinsic to their law of the land. Why shouldn't it be? Article 1 of our state constitution guarantees, at least in theory, our natural and inalienable rights to life, safety, and happiness. Does New Jersey expect to be able to deliver on these promises for the next 7 generations, even as cities face deadly heat in the summers and smog thickens over communities overburdened by pollution? Does the empathy of our government extend that far? The Green Amendment would make the human right to a healthy environment as inalienable as our other constitutional rights. It's the perfect impetus for climate education to be taught alongside civic education. This campaign is powered by youth. For students as young as elementary and middle school, learning that their right to breathe clean air and drink clear water is protected under New Jersey's most inviolate law can be empowering. For students who have to walk past Superfunds every day on their way to school, for children whose homes have been destroyed by ever stronger storms, for kids like me who cried when they finally understood why they couldn't find any more frogs at the local park, it's a source of hope. An informed citizenry is an engaged community. The climate is changing, and so should we change our collective relationship with the environment. Local sustainability initiatives and strong civic capital are key to adaptation. The Green Amendment upholds principles of universality, stewardship, trust, social and environmental consciousness, and responsibility. The earth is not a resource to be exploited. That implies it can be used and manipulated and caused harm without harm to ourselves. Our human right to life is synonymous with Earth's right to exist, and the Green Amendment codifies that.
Thank you. And next, we're going to view a video piece made by Margaret Beret. She couldn't be here today, but she's created this informative 1-minute video. She's a student from Mountain Lakes. She attends Mountain Lakes High School and is the co-coordinator of the Green Amendment campaign at the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition.
What is the Green Amendment? Simply, it is protection for all of our communities, an acknowledgement of the basic things we need to survive: clean air, clean water, a stable climate, and a healthy environment. Neighborhoods across New Jersey are struggling to breathe, suffocated by the toxins emitted into our air. Shouldn't our children be endowed with the right to the clean water they need to survive? The Green Amendment safeguards this and is placed into the most sacred document in our legal system, the Constitution, into the Bill of Rights section, where it is seated along with freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. After a global pandemic, we ought to know how important our health is. The Green Amendment will protect all people's health and well-being, finally acknowledging our basic rights needed for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Go to Green Amendments for the Generations to help us pass this amendment here in New Jersey.
And before we hear from our final youth leader, we are going to first hear from Alex Kaiser. He is the Chief of Staff for Assemblyman John McKeon, who is currently the lead assembly sponsor of the New Jersey Green Amendment proposal. Alex?
Hey, thanks, Maya, and all the youth leaders. First off, besides the 2 West Orange students that are in our district, Ava, you are a Jonathan Dayton current student, right? As a former grad of Jonathan Dayton and your current deputy mayor in Springfield, it's encouraging to not only see you, but all our youth leaders who are finally out here trying to make a difference and fighting for something that is so vital for your generation and the generations that'll come after you to protect our planet. The Assemblyman, is the prime sponsor of the Green Amendment and has been a champion for environmental policy for such a long time, understanding that we need to make a difference, not tomorrow, but today. It's just another step and an important step and a very important bill that builds on our record of the past. Just this year, we did take action in the legislature and signed into law by the governor that will bring environmental justice here in New Jersey, that empowers the DEP to take action and protect communities that have for too long taken the brunt of our worst industry and not spread it around. So this important legislation is just another step in that direction of making not only New Jersey a leader in environmental policy, but one on the national stage. In our state for so long, for the past prior administration, environmental policy was kind of not seen or not signed. For 4 years on the federal level, we were stagnant, but I think finally now with a new administration in DC, and as states become pushed to be more progressive, I think we'll finally see better days ahead. We're proud to be a sponsor of this and be one spoke in the wheel for environmental protection.
Thank you so much for that, Alex, and sorry for the dog interruption, everybody. But we are certainly hopeful that Assembly McKeon is going to be able to secure for us a hearing on this constitutional Green Amendment so these amazing leaders and others across New Jersey can come speak directly to the New Jersey legislature. And with that, we're going to have our close from Eva Blondo. She is a student from Robbinsville. She attends Robbinsville High School and is the Artistic Activism Coordinator and MSM Coordinator at the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition and is a part of the Robbinsville High School Environmental Club. Eva?
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for having me. So as a little kid, nature always felt like home. When I was in elementary school, I started a club called the Nature Tree, where kids would come together during a recess to clean up litter and observe animals. And I was absolutely obsessed with Jane Goodall. I really wanted to go to Africa to study wild animals as she did. And in middle school, I became increasingly interested in environmental issues like climate change. In high school, I became an activist. I started the environmental club at Robbinsville High School, and I joined the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition. First, I joined as their policy coordinator, and then this year I created the artistic activism team, which I currently lead. We use music, art, poetry, and any other artistic mediums to communicate our positions on policy issues and to raise awareness about important environmental concerns we have. Recently, we put together a concert in support of the Green Amendment, which was shown on our YouTube channel on Earth Day. The reason I support the Green Amendment so much is I firmly believe it's essential to protect future generations' rights to a healthy, stable environment. The other day, I was journaling about my future. Specifically, I was trying to imagine my life as an adult. I know what career I want, but when I started thinking about my family, my first thought wasn't, oh, what's my wedding gonna be like? Or what am I gonna name my kids? My first thought was, will Earth be inhabitable when my kids grow up? And that didn't even feel like a crazy out there thought. And then I realized that's why we need a Green Amendment. That little sentence in the Green Amendment that says protect future generations means the world to me. Future generations mean my generation's entire adulthood. Future generations are my kids' lives and their kids' lives. These generations are the future of all of us, and if we aren't acting in service of them, we're only acting in service of ourselves and of money and of corporations, and that is so, so wrong. So I think it's essential to protect the environment for future generations above all else. Because if we're not going to do that, what's the point? The whole goal of policymaking, in my opinion, should be about making the future better. And that's what the Green Amendment does. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a powerful, powerful group of leaders that we have here in the state of New Jersey. We can't miss on getting this constitutional Green Amendment with this group of powerful leaders behind us. With that, we're going to create an opportunity for questions. So if you have a question, please use the raised hand feature, or you can feel free to put it on the chat, and I will try to catch it from there. But while we're waiting to see if there are any questions, hands raised questions, we actually do have some chat questions. I'm going to ask our youth leaders, if you want to respond to this question, also please use the raised hand so I can call on you. But the first question that we have is, as a young person, what would you say to those in government leadership about their responsibility to address climate and environmental issues? A number of you have spoken to this a bit, but this is your chance to speak directly to our legislative leaders through the press. Raise your hand physically or technologically if you would like to respond. Okay, Eva?
Well, I mean, I think really, if you're serving in the government, you know that the government's job, like sole job, is to protect, uphold the rights of, and provide for its people. And the Green Amendment is something that constitutionally, it makes up part of our most, of our highest law, basically. So without Earth, without the environment, we humans would not exist. Like, the only reason we do is because we can breathe the air that's outside, because we can survive essentially here. And multiple reports from the IPCC ever since the IPCC was formed have confirmed that we are not going to survive a 2 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. I mean, with all the greenhouse gases that have yet to be burned, I mean, the fossil fuels that have yet to be burned, we're well on track to exceed that very, very quickly. So all of these, I mean, New Jersey's plans, climate goals are just not necessarily sufficient right now. We need to keep it in the ground. And the International Energy Agency just confirmed that we cannot continue polluting, continue burning. And our government kind of has to recognize that for the generations.
Great. And so then we're going to have 2 more responses. First, we're going to hear from Arush, and then we're going to hear from Eva Blondo. Arush?
So I think that it's so easy to feel so disconnected from legislators. They seem to be like a whole nother world, but you also have to remember that you guys were once us, you guys were once kids, and you were lucky to not have to worry about this kind of stuff, not have to worry about whether or not the world would still be there when you reached adulthood. And I think it's fair for you to give that chance to us because we're the ones who are going to be inheriting the world. And we want to inherit a world that we can live in and continue to improve as we make it through our lives. And then the other thing is, even if, regardless of your views on this, you all might have kids, and one day you might see them grow up to be us and become environmentalists and care about the environment. And I don't know, do you really want to have that response where they ask what have you done for the environment, and you can't really say anything? I think that this is one of the highest responsibilities we can have, because it's something that that mankind depends on. Its survival depends on the environment. And so this is one of the greatest things you can do, supporting this amendment and other legislation like it.
Eva?
Yeah, something really interesting about what Arush just said was the part where he was like, yeah, I think we deserve the opportunity to not worry about not being able to live on Earth when we're adults. And I found that was so interesting, because I think one of the criticisms that I hear about environmental legislation is that it's too progressive, that we're treating it like a more urgent issue than it is, or like we're being radical. And I really don't think the right to clean air and clean water and a stable environment is that radical. I think what I would say to legislators is that, like Arush said, it's only fair to ensure that right to people. And it's not fair that my entire generation has to live in fear of not having that basic right. And the fact that that right isn't already enshrined in the Constitution, like, we got to get on that. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. So another question that we've gotten is, how do you find time to work on an amendment campaign of this kind, a constitutional amendment, while also balancing school, sports, extracurriculars, and all the other good things that you enjoy doing in your life? Any takers? Svan?
So I definitely think it depends on the person, and I'm lucky. I'm a freshman. I have no AP tests right now, which I know a lot of you have. So if you have AP tests, thank you for being here. Definitely, it is difficult, but I really want to address kind of the root of this question, which is, wow, students are doing this, and it's a surprise because we should not have to be doing this, and our priorities, for the most part, as most of our parents have probably told us, should be school, should be preparing for our futures. And sadly, preparing for our futures has become making sure we have a future at all. And really, the reason we're all here is paradoxically to make sure that in the future we don't still have to be here. In the future, our legislators will take care of this, and our children won't have to be in the same position that we are, balancing school as well as like 3 or 4 meetings every day after school, in addition to sports and extracurriculars, which I know many of us students on this call are doing right now. So.
And Kylie, you wanted to offer something.
Yeah, so contrary to Svan, I do have APs. I am currently a senior in high school, so I am cramming things right now. My first AP exam is next week, and I am nervous. But I feel like for me, it's one of those things where I have been able not only to learn how to manage my time well, but when I feel very passionate about something and I believe that we do have the right for a healthy environment, and I do feel passionate about that, I learn to make the time to make sure that people can understand that, because I feel like the more that we amplify and make people aware that this is important, the easier it's going to be, because then everyone's going to be on board, and it's not going to be like a small group trying to deal with so much. It's going to be everybody understanding that we need a very healthy environment in order to continue living.
Thank you. So we've got time for 2 more questions. So the first one is, what would you say to other youth leaders who may be watching and interested in advocating for a New Jersey Green Amendment? Ayana?
I would say that it's really like not super difficult to get involved, and on the campaign we can really use like a very wide like array of skills. So if you're more interested in social media or actually doing more of like the groundwork and actually like contacting your legislators, I would say that like no matter what your skill set is, we can definitely use you on the campaign. And it's like I feel like it's not that hard to get involved, like depending on your level of commitment. So definitely like make the effort if you could.
Arush?
I think that more than likely, if you're a youth leader, you're probably invested in one environmental issue over another, which is perfect for this kind of legislation, because like I was talking about, this legislation covers everything. I'm working on plastic pollution with my team, but I'm also working on this because I know that if this gets passed in New Jersey, then plastic pollution is a thing of the past. So I think that you should definitely do it, because it can reach over all fields of environmental pursuits. And then the other thing is, like, look at this community. This is one of the most rewarding communities that I've ever been a part of. So even if you're on the fence about joining it, just jump in and do it, because no matter how much you can be involved, A, we can always use you, and B, you are going to meet so many new people who are all so motivated and so invested that you will not meet anywhere else. So do it.
Fun?
So definitely second everything Arush and Ayana said before. Really heard a lot of people, especially young people in the environmentalist movement, say this: you do what you can. Beggars can't be choosers. Anybody, whatever your level of commitment, we make it as easy as possible on you, or at least we hope we are. so that you can invest 5 minutes a week. You can invest hours per week, depending on your schedule, depending on your other priorities, because we really do want everyone we can. And like Ayana talked about, really whatever your interest, your specialty, we try and find a place for you. So our campaign is organized where we have many different tactics, many different ways we're fighting for the Green Amendment, and every single new person, Margaret and I, as the coordinators, we have a one-on-one or two-on-one meeting with them to decide, hey, these are the ways you can get involved. What is your preference? What does your schedule look like, to try and find the best fit for you? So if youth leaders are interested, definitely sign up with our campaign. Can't write something in the chat if people are watching this on Facebook later, but tiny.cc/GA capitals _survey. You can sign up and we can work out whatever it is. And also just reaching out to your legislators, telling everyone, friends and family about the Green Amendment. The types of outreach and personal lobbying are the most effective and really what we need more than anything else.
Great. And we have one other question, which I think is particularly interesting and important. Everything has been so fabulous, but really, I would like to know, this is a question for me, when you approach government leaders about your concerns as a young person, about your dedication to the New Jersey Green Amendment movement, about how you see your future being impacted and why this is so important to you, what are the kinds of reactions that you get? How are you received by these legislators? So Ashley.
So I would say that sometimes when young people approach their government leaders, we aren't responded to in the most positive way. And I know that many students feel that our voices aren't really being heard by our representatives. But the reality is that climate change wasn't caused by our generation, and it's the result of the actions of previous generations, and we're the ones facing the burdens and the judgmental consequences right now. So it is the responsibility of the previous generations and our current government officials to take action on behalf of us as well, because my generation is stepping up. We're taking to the streets, we're calling on our representatives, and now it's time for them to respond to us.
And then we're going to hear from Eva Bertolotti, and then we're going to hear from Arush, and I'll give a final update on where things stand. And then we will close out our press conference. So Eva?
Thank you. I've gotten a huge range of reactions. I mean, it's been, and most of the time, unfortunately, it's kind of sad to say, considering they are representatives, but I've gotten a lot of raised eyebrows when I talk about things like, oh, 7 generations in the future, like that kind of language, like we need to change our relationship with the environment, things that are really like scientifically, we have to do, that we need to stop burning fossil fuels. And when I say that, people say, oh, and especially politicians say, hey, like we've been running on fossil fuels, brought us the the creature comforts we have now, the standard of living we have now. How can we abandon fossil fuels? Fossil fuels are our best friend, that sort of thing. And a lot of politicians, I mean, I'm not going to say necessarily funding right now, because that's a slightly different animal, but there really is kind of this between the government and industry. It seems like for the most part, industry has a lot more say and a lot louder of a voice than politicians' constituents do. And you can really see this in places like the Ironbound community in Newark, where, organizers and people living there are constantly bringing complaints and organizing against polluting facilities, and the local government, and the state government just kind of say, oh, well, it brings jobs there. It's kind of a non-answer. And that's usually what we get. I mean, no one wants to say no to a kid or a teenager, but it's a lot easier to say no to us than it is to say no to corporations that, money speaks. So
do votes. Sorry, Arush?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that Ava and Ashley said, but I'd also like to make the point, like, for me in the beginning, I used to think that legislators or like politicians would just be like, oh, wow, good job, you're speaking up, but then nothing would really happen. But I think that the longer I've been following this movement in New Jersey, I think the opposite is true. I think that, like, I'd like to give props to all of the legislators who have co-sponsored the bill, because like they are stepping up and doing something for us, you know, because we reached out to them. So I think that while there is a lot of fear that like we won't be received with respect, we won't be taken seriously, you know, our voices do matter. And, you know, you have to remember, we are the constituents coming up. Like, we're all in our teens. In the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to be the constituents. And so I think that a lot of times it can seem like legislators don't care about the youth, but I think that to some extent they do. And I think that when you stand up with your peers and say, this is what we want, they will listen.
So thank you so much. Again, such powerful voices and messages. And, you know, you are true champions for our present and future Earth and present and future generations. And I'm so grateful that you're all part of the Green Amendment leadership. For reporters who are wondering, what's the status of the New Jersey Green Amendment? Just want to let you know that New Jersey was actually amongst the first states. We actually have 13 states now where there is a Green Amendment proposal that has been put forth. New Jersey was amongst the first back in November of 2017. But unfortunately, since that time, it's largely languished. We had a hearing in the fall of 2018. And after that, we haven't been able to really achieve much progress in terms of hearings. That being said, we have been increasing the level of legislator support. And so at this point, we have 12 Senate sponsors and 44 Assembly sponsors. And this is truly a bipartisan effort because there are 8 Republicans that have stepped up and signed on to protect the rights of all of the people of New Jersey to a clean and healthy environment for present and future generations. Our primary sponsors are Assembly McKeon. You heard from his staff today, as well as Senator Greenstein and Senator Bateman. And we super appreciate their legislative leadership. And we appreciate the support of all the legislators. But what we're really hoping for now is, again, that we can have some hearings. We can have some hearings so that our youth leaders and all the people of New Jersey can come forth and speak directly to the legislators about why they want their rights to a clean and healthy environment recognized and protected in the Bill of Rights section of the state constitution. Ultimately, this is a decision that is up to the people, but the people can only have the opportunity to speak up and speak for this if the legislators open that opportunity through hearings and votes. So we are really thrilled that we have such amazing leadership across New Jersey, such amazing youth leadership, and we're hoping that that everybody pays attention to this press conference and we can really continue to advance this ball. So thank you, everybody, for your amazing power and passion. And thank you for all who joined us today to learn from our amazing champions for the Earth.